Today is one of those days I find myself looking at all these stories and saying at least 5 times, that's the worst thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. Well, this is the last story I'm going to look at today. And I'm going to tell you, this is the worst thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. It started off bad enough. 2 teenagers are charged with kidnapping and rape. 16-year-old girl said a bunch of black people raped her. We don't know anything about the girl. Bad enough. Not even sure it's bad enough to make this page, though. But then we get down to the bottom of the story, and we find that Albert H. Jones III was out on bond for murder. $20,000 bond for a murder he is accused of committing in November 2015. A couple of people saw it, a couple of people called in 911. The best this newspaper can do is say he murdered her, this 55-year-old woman who you will meet in a minute. He murdered her because they were having an altercation. Let's see the video on the murder. But before we do, let's run a little public service announcement from North Carolina. And knowing what you know now, try not to laugh as you listen to it.
So you've been a victim of crime. What's next? There's a program where you can get information on offenders in county jails in North Carolina. ncsavin.org. Anyone can register and get free offender information, and there's victims assistance resources. Just go to ncsavin.org or call 1-877-NC-SAVIN. Make this confidential service part of your safety plan.
Mysterious murder of a Wilson woman. Hello, I'm David Crabtree.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. Relatives say the 55-year-old was walking her dog, as she did every night when she was attacked. She was found at the intersection of Vance Street and Maplewood Avenue. WRL's Catherine Brown is live in Wilson with reaction from the victim's family. Catherine?
Well, Deborah and David, they tell me they are stunned and understandably heartbroken. The victim's son says he is desperate for answers. Specifically, he wants to know why someone would attack his mother and leave her dying in the street.
My heart sank when I found out it was murder.
David Francois is clinging to happier times, to old pictures taken when his mother was still young, still smiling.
I'd have to say is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life was identify my mother's body.
Francois heard the siren Saturday night just before 10 o'clock as they whizzed by his home. He had no idea they were on the way to his mother, who had been attacked and lay dying in the street just blocks away.
And she wasn't home, so then I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I could feel it in my heart. I knew something was wrong with my mother.
Police say 55-year-old Donna Davis was killed as she was walking her dog. The pup was still by her side when officers arrived.
She walks that street every day to walk her little dog, and nobody's ever bothered her, and until now.
Police have arrested 16-year-old Albert Jones. He's now charged with Davis's murder, but investigators have yet to release a motive or cause of death. Francois is struggling to pull together the money to bury his mother, a service that comes on the 1-year anniversary of his father's death. And he's grappling for a way to explain the senseless violence to his own 11-year-old son. He wants closure and he wants answers, and he wants to look his mother's killer in the face and ask one question.
Just so I could, rest peacefully tonight. I'd like to know why he decided to kill my mother.
That suspect, Albert Jones, made his first appearance in this courthouse today before a judge on those murder charges. There was not a single family member in the courtroom. Deborah?
Catherine Brown, live in Wilson. Thanks, Catherine.
So does this sound familiar to anyone? Old white person out walking their dog. Bunch of black people see him and kill him.
Here's a guy that, according to what I'm hearing, asked that they not kill him, but they shot him anyway.
51-year-old James Stolman died last Thursday after police say this teen, 15-year-old Typhine Hamilton, fired the fatal shot that killed him. Police say he shot Stolman in the chest in a botched robbery attempt as he was walking his dog.
How much money can you possibly have walking your dog? I mean, anybody who has a dog knows, I mean, at most you got your keys with you, but I mean, you're walking your dog. So what are you going to get from something like that? It's just stupid.
Sources tell NBC 10 Hamilton is talking to investigators, telling his version of what happened here last Thursday.
This father of a 15-year-old girl usually took her with him when they were out walking the dog. That night, she did not accompany him. The last words he ever said on this planet were, "Don't shoot." He had his hands up. Hands up. Don't shoot. Like the case in Philadelphia, maybe we'll find out the case in North Carolina was just a botched robbery or an altercation. We don't know yet. We don't know what the motive is. Me, I don't really look at the motive. All I want to know is, what did that woman do to make the black kids angry?